We're going to start with grip strength. Okay. Your article about what grip strength can tell you about how well you're aging. I found this absolutely fascinating for a lot of reasons, but especially when I read the subtitle, which I'm going to read now. Grip strength is closely linked to mortality in people of all incomes and may be a better indicator of life expectancy than blood pressure. Wow, Gretchen, that was really powerful. And so I've always been fascinated by strength and grip strength as it relates to aging. So tell us about this research and about your cover of it.
I'm also very interested in all of this since I'm not getting younger either. This study was particularly interesting because there already was some pretty good evidence that how strong you are is linked to your longevity. There were good big studies showing that people who were stronger tended to live longer. But there were lots of questions about why, and also how you might measure that, whether you could change it, all of that. And so this study looked at a pretty big group of people. It was more than 1,200 men and women who had already had their grip strength measured using a dynamometer, which is that hand grip that you use to measure that. And then they also had blood tests done. And the scientists used there's one right there.
I know, for those of you who are just listening and maybe not watching on YouTube, I'm holding one up. As soon as I read the first study about this, and it probably was from you, Gretchen, I went to Amazon and I got this. Yep. Everybody should have one or a measure.
You can also often find dynamometers at your gym if you wind up wanting to check your grip strength after this. But the reason this study...
Or a physical therapist.
The thing that was particularly interesting about this study was they took blood from these same people and they used it to check a feature called your epigenetic age. And that basically means how old your cells are. And it's sort of amazing that they can now determine, in effect, how old your cells are, meaning how close they are basically to dying, to becoming frail and old, just like us. And they can do that by looking at marks on the outside of your genes. And our genes change over the course of as we age. Everything we do, what we eat, when we sleep, how much we exercise, those change how our genes work. And what they can do now is look at marks on the outside of your DNA and use machine learning, big algorithms, to in effect tell how old your genes are. And that can be very, very different than how old you are, meaning your chronological age.
So it's really biological age versus chronological age. Is that right?
Someone's chronological age could be 55. That would mean they've been alive for 55 years. Their biological age, which means basically how old your cells are, can be anywhere from 25 to 85. And they're now using a whole series of what they call biological clocks to look at how old your cells are. And in this study, they used people's grip strength to then compare to their biological age. And the weaker someone was, the lower their grip strength was, the older their biological age. No matter what their birthday said, that their cells were older if they were weaker.
And how much of this is genetic versus lifestyle? Do we know that?
Very, very little of this is genetics, because this is what they call epigenetics, which is what you do to your genes over the course of your life. And so most of this is determined by how you live. And in this case, some people were not as strong as other people, and that was men and women. And these were people who were middle aged and up. And so, of almost any age, even someone 45, if their grip strength was quite low, their cells were quite old. So, a 45-year-old who was weak could easily have a biological age of 65, and a 65
Incredible.
year old who was strong could have a biological age of 45.
I find this so fascinating. And this is really what we're talking about here because so much of this, Gretchen, is in our control, is what you're saying, right?
Yes, it
How you
does.
exercise, how often, how much, what you eat, how much you drink. I mean, on and on. These are all lifestyle choices. And you offered some kind of good news in your piece also, because after you went through all of this, you did say, but it's okay. There are things you can do if you are weak, right?
Yes, and the first thing to know is that you improve grip strength not necessarily by stealing, and I'll hold up something for those. My son is a rock climber, and I do sometimes use his rock climbing hand grips to just work on my hand grip. But the best way to improve your hand grip is to just do any kind of strength training, because hand grip strength really is a measure of the overall strength and health of your muscles. So if you're just getting started, go to the gym if you can. If you can't, see if you can do a modified push up. You don't have to do a full push up all stretched out. Do a push up against the wall. Just start doing almost anything. And there's very good evidence you will pretty quickly start improving your grip strength. And hopefully that can actually dial back your biological age, which is really is pretty incredible.
Oh, it's so incredible. Really, I mean, you have written so many columns over the years, and I've read them all. And I find that this is one of the most important ones that you've done. I mean, they've all been amazing. And the research behind and the science behind it has all been amazing and eye-opening and really made me say, okay, well, I can do this. But this is it's so incredible to me because it is science backed, but also it does show you that if you just change a few things, and as you just pointed out, Gretchen, if you just do a few simple things like push-ups against the wall or even down on the ground, I mean, maybe get a trainer to help you out in the beginning, whatever it'll take, you can improve this. And therefore you can improve your biological age, it sounds like, which I think is great and
It's
encouraging.
also I think it's a good reminder to people that we do need to do strength training, because a lot of people may find it more fun, or they may just think that it's easier to go for a walk or do aerobics or something. And I'm a big fan. I run and bike ride. I would rather probably not go to the gym, but it
Hmm.
really is increasingly clear, especially as we age, we have to be strong. And it's not just that it gives
Yeah,
us
for so many
independence.
reasons, Gretchen. Absolutely. To stop us from being frail, to keep us independent for as long as possible and mobile. But also, I'm a big believer in and a big advocate for bone health. I'm on the board of the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation. I've been for many, many years. And that's a really big initiative of mine and a focal point. And this is ties into that. Also, brain health, we now know there are studies behind that,
Mhm.
how strength training specifically can help keep the brain sharp. So it goes on and on and on. But the fact that you can tie that back to really helping your cells to slow down aging, maybe even reverse some of the damage done, is just incredibly positive information.